the little thingy things that we have yet to talk about. You know, these. When I said that, I meant that they were by far the most time-consuming elements of the costume. So they were challenging in that you don't get the feeling that you'll ever see the end of it. But they weren't necessarily hard. They weren't difficult. They were just, yeah, a monster. This, however, was actually difficult. This was the most difficult, not as time-consuming as, you know, this and the leg armor, but certainly the most complex part of the whole costume is the sleeves. Now you see here a sleeve completely fully assembled, even with the little wrist piece of armor there. And here I went ahead and I unfastened everything that can be unfastened to show you exactly how the sleeve can come apart. This piece here, that can actually come freely loose at one end. There you go. I can just flop around, and this which wraps around the wrist, this can come completely apart. This can come off entirely. This is the way that I made the sleeves. Yours might differ, but anyways, this is my solution. And then the little wrist guard, the wrist armor, also comes off. All right, now to try to tackle this monster here, let's go ahead and look at some of my progress pictures. Here you have every single piece that you'll need to make the sleeves. Yes, you've got this long piece of black vinyl, and here you have an actual sleeve. If I were to take off all of this piece right here, you would see it looks like an actual t-shirt sleeve, especially a woman's t-shirt sleeve. You know, a little tiny little bit that comes off of the torso. It looks like a little t-shirt sleeve. Well, that's what you saw there on that picture. That's what that is. And then you have the straps, all these straps, green straps, black straps, brown, you know, that light patterned brown vinyl. Yeah, so you need all those pieces. What do we have? So there you go. This is the raw tunic, and oh, there you go. I've installed the little sleeve, and then there you go. This is the that dark black piece of vinyl, that wide piece of vinyl. So that is the next thing that goes on. And here we have two green little strips of cloth that I built. You apply one on this piece of vinyl. So that you can see there's the narrowest little edge that pokes out. You need that because Loki actually has that. You can see that on my finished product. That is this little this dark little line here. So you need to make sure that your dark vinyl pokes out above your green strip of cloth here. And we have another, so first one, then another. As you can see, the end of this one is still loose. It flops loose. Why? Because we'll need to slip something in between them, over the top one, but underneath the second one. Okay, oh, there you go. And then next thing is we install this giant golden strip here. Now, what is that? What is that material? Well, I guess I was once again a little lucky, I suppose. I found that it's I have no idea what it is. It's obviously synthetic. There is a lot of, you know, plastic material in this fabric. What is it called? I have no clue. But it's got a bit of a mesh thing going on there. Let me show you a close-up of what it really looks like. This, however, does not give you a truly good idea. Why? Because this is actually 2 layers. This thing was actually a bit see-through. Not anymore now, because there are 2 layers. As you can tell, see the grain of the grid pattern, that little crisscross grid that you see. The grain goes one way on one side, but it goes the other way on the other side. So my 2 layers are I guess cross grain, you could say. I made sure to cut one layer in this direction and the other layer in the other direction of the fabric, so that they would, so that when you put them on top of each other, it blots out the light. See, now it is almost not see-through anymore. Well, a lot less than it was. This look is important because when you zoom in on Loki's arms, this strap here is indeed a bit of a mesh. You can tell that it really does have a bit of a grid pattern going on there. And on top of it, you've got these 2 black strips of vinyl. Now these were pre-cut. I found some pre-cut thin pieces of vinyl, which I just carefully sewed on top. And there you go. I had one big giant golden strip, and of course another one for the other arm. Let's go back to our progress picture. So so you've got the 2 green strips. You've got your giant golden strip on which you've already applied your black thin leather vinyl strips. And there you go. Now you can apply this to the sleeve. Below here is your black piece of vinyl, and now you are applying this. Now this, oh yes, this is the back. This is the back of the arm, mind you. This is the back of the arm. And then this will wrap around the front in a minute. But now we are building the black straps. If you look here, see now, this is the back of the arm. This is what we saw back there on the picture. My 2 green strips of cloth. There's the golden piece, and then here, there you go, 4. Count them: 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 strips of black vinyl. Now these were also pre-cut, not the same width as these, obviously. So I also found these nice pre-cut pieces of vinyl, black vinyl. And they run all the way down to the length of the arm. And this is what it looks like when you start to install them. Yeah, so they are sewn to each other like that. And this is what it looks like when you start to apply them. So they go underneath the green, the bottom green strip of cloth. That's why you had to leave it like kind of floppy there, so that you could slip the black strips of vinyl. And you also sew them onto the black vinyl for under the arm, what's been there since the beginning there. And what is this? Oh yes, now here we have wrapped everything down the front. So now you are seeing the front. We have wrapped the green strips down the front, and we have sewed them onto the little green sleeve. And there you go, and now you can see that the black pieces of vinyl are also wrapped around the front. And now we are inserting another strip. This is obviously a lighter brown. This is our good friend, the light patterned brown, what we saw on the boot covers, and what we will eventually see on the very prominent shoulder patches. So there you go. So that's an extra strip. And yes, once again, you can see that clearly on Loki. He has all of these strips, and this one stands out. It's lighter. It's the same patterned brown as the shoulder straps. And look at that. It goes on top of one green strap, but underneath the other one. That's why the tip of the second one was flopping loose, because we had to insert this strip underneath, and now we can actually sew it on. Now obviously a lot of that was hand sewn. At the beginning, you can squeeze this whole thing into your machine. Eventually, before long, you cannot put any of this through your machine. You need to start hand sewing a lot of that. Oh, look at that. Now we have another strip of light brown. Now this one goes on top of the green strips. So the end result is, look at that, crisscross. Same thing that we had on the knee pads, same thing that we are going to have on the bodice, the next piece of the costume that we'll talk about. So yeah, so see, crisscross, that's a recurring theme on this costume. And look, a third light brown patterned strip of vinyl. So the end result is we have some black strips behind the arm. We've got just a big black piece under the arm, and then we have this light patterned brown, these light patterned brown strips in front of the arm. And then around the deltoid there, around the shoulder, we have green fabric. That's the bottom line. And then we're not quite done. Now everything is starting to wrap around, and there's a bit more crisscrossing left to do. See, the black strips of vinyl go over the top of the first one. Yes, yeah, that's the first one. The first light brown strip. There you go. So now all the crisscrossing is done. So yes, there's one light brown piece of vinyl. Over that goes one black piece of vinyl, and then there's the other light brown, and on top of that goes the other black strip. So see, the crisscrossing here is not quite as obvious because the angle is very tight. This is not, see up here, you can definitely see the crisscrossing, same as we saw back with the knee patches. Here, it's not quite as obvious because the angle, as I said, is tighter. It's not a 90 degree anymore angle, but yes, still is some crisscrossing. Is this crisscrossing quite so necessary? Obviously, not really, because most of that is hidden by the armor. Anyway, okay, and here we're not quite done. Now we're down to the wrist, because yes, now we have a completed arm mostly, but this is a little strip of green cloth that I sewed to the that is the inside. That's the inside of the arm. So I wrapped it around the wrist. Let me go back onto the costume there, away from the pictures and back onto the costume. So there you go. So this is the little wrist piece. It is sewed here. It wraps around the wrist, and look at that. Just because I wanted some extra details. Loki's wrists are insanely complex. There is so much going on his wrist. There's pleats, there's folds, there's more green pieces there than you can count. So I said, well, there you go. You know what? My little strip, I will wrap it around the wrist, twist it, and then wrap it back and sew it on the other side. So yeah, it actually begins here, it goes around, twists, and comes back here and is sewn on the other side. So this little this extra fold here, this extra pleat, this crease, this twist. Hey, it's more complexity. It makes it that much closer to the desired result. And now, how does this become this? And why does it become this, honestly? Why does it have to flop loose? Why does this have to be a separate piece? Well, first of all, remember what I said about the knees. We want some unsewn pieces like that. See, so we can see through. So we can see some things moving. So you can see some depth. Which is something that you can see when you look at the costume. So there you go. So this is not sewn on purpose. We can see some depth. And this, you can tell that this very often just hovers over Loki's arm. And this is how it's done. So, this is always, this is sewn. This is completely sewn, as we saw at the base of the arm, behind the arm. and then you wrap this around the arm. Obviously not very easy while you're holding a camera. And look at that, we've got buttons here, we've got buttons. And this fastens onto, which button? I think it's this one. All right, yeah, so this fastens onto one of the buttons here. And now, you know what? I would have loved to have this piece here permanently fixed to this. So you wrap this around the arm, and then this is attached to that, and then you keep wrapping the black part also around the arm, around the wrist a couple of times, until it ends up, I might know if I can figure this out, one hand, until it essentially ends up like this, see? These are attached, it wraps around the wrist, and then you've got this here. There we go. Wouldn't that be nice? But guess what? This rounded edge here is not towards the inside of the arm. If you study Loki, it's actually the other way. This goes towards the back of the arm. So that means you can't just twist and here keep going. You've got to twist around the arm, and here you've got to start twisting the other way. So twist around one way, and then here start twisting the other way. So that's why these are two separate pieces. So this, the button snaps this onto here, and then this starts going around the other way. It wraps around the other way, around the wrist until it ends up like this, and then this rounded part here aims towards the back of the arm. Let me show you the completed thing here. Everything's installed. So you see the golden piece goes around one way, and then this starts twisting the other way, all the way around until it ends up here. Here you see a little angle here as it is supposed to be. And then you see this round part that aims towards the back of the arm. I've got a really great shot of Loki that clearly shows that this is indeed the case, and this is my way of figuring this out. Maybe you have another way. Maybe other Lokis out there have had other solutions. This is mine, and I'm quite happy with it. So yes. I've got two buttons that add a lot of structural integrity here, and look at that. This is attached to the wrist with a combination of, let me go here, a combination of magnets. I've got more magnets inside, truly inside, between the two layers. See, this is two layers. Two layers of vinyl. Well, inside the two layers, I've got two magnets here. And, well, basically, I used to rely a lot more on magnets. We talked about this magnet here already, previous episode. I've got two here. I used to have more, like, here on the wrist part, magnets here. I used to have magnets, like, a great number of places. They do not work nearly as well as you might think. Maybe because they weren't powerful enough. I don't know. It's all about power in the Marvel universe, isn't it? But yeah, so there's a lot fewer magnets remaining all over my costume than there used to be. These will always remain because they are inside the vinyl. I would have to slit this with an X-Acto and rip it out if there was ever a reason, a need to rip them out. And besides, I wouldn't want to rip them out because they still kind of work. See, this one here, this one here attaches to this one there on the arm. And to show you how the magnet was not strong enough by itself, I decided to also add some snaps. Here you can see a snap that is, once again, glued on with our good friend Shugu, and the other part is glued on to the magnet itself. So there you go. We've got a magnet and a snap that holds this in place. And the other one here looks useless. The other one that is inside looks useless, it actually helps the armor. There's also the forearm pieces of armor that slip over all of this, and there's a magnet on the inside of that armor. And this one fastens to the armor, and of course the wrist piece of armor looks like this. I've got more of that mesh here. This is Wonderful X. Once again, this is obviously a lot more crafted than the simple rectangles that we saw on the pants. And you know what? I think that we'll look at those a bit more in details when we do the forearm armor. Now I just want to show you how they fasten. Now I've got snaps, nice sew-on snaps, and some, of course, the other pieces on the inside of the arm. So there you go. And when everything is all attached and all is said and done, this is what it looks like. This is a completed sleeve, all fully reattached. Now, what I did here, pulling it apart, I never have to do that. I never do. So why does it do that? Why didn't I just install this permanently? I don't know. Maybe to impress cosplay judges? I have no clue. I might as well have, sewn these guys on completely. But I quite like it. It's nice to know that they can come off. Hey, it allowed me to show you this naked sleeve there. So that's, if anything, it was that purpose. But yes, it comes it comes apart. I suppose that I suppose it allows me to take this piece off completely when I wash this. So there are no metal pieces involved when I wash the tunic, other than the magnet here. Speaking of metal pieces, we have more of our little friends here, the little zipper top tidbits here. Once again, we'll talk about them in greater detail when we get to the coat. So we saw them on the boot covers so far. We see them again here. The amount that you see here and that we saw on the boot covers, that is nothing, obviously. That is nothing compared to the insane job that awaits you all over the coat. So I'm going to leave you here with a sense of existentialist dread brought upon by these little zipper tops. If I created some despair in the deepest areas of your soul, then I guess that's for the best. This is the impression that you're supposed to get when contemplating making a Loki costume. If you are not insane when trying to make a Loki costume, then you certainly will be by the time that you're done. Alright, JF, aka Loki, here is telling you goodbye, and we have one more episode about the tunic, and that is the wrist, not the wrist, well, the wrist and the forearm armor. In the meantime, don't forget to kneel and subscribe. I just want to add a little extra on this piece here that we saw. Black vinyl very often being one-sided, so it's white on the other side, therefore had to stick together, to sew together 2 layers of vinyl, obviously, so that it would be black on the other side. But now the problem is the cross cut on the edge here. It was white. It was very white. You can see through the buttonhole what I mean. See, very white, and that's very nasty looking, not very nice. So the trick for that is to apply some dye, black dye or black ink. It will adhere to your vinyl perfectly, and you will have a nice, beautiful cross cut here. That's all I wanted to add about that. And kneel and subscribe.